This presentation of the big game was made possible through the kind support of Tangipahoa Parish Tourism, your guide to the crossroads of Louisiana. And North Oaks Health System, improving lives every time, every touch.
Tangipahoa Parish is home to the strawberry capital of the world and the premier destination for family fun and adventure. Whether you're looking to visit one of our historic museums, grab a bite to eat at our amazing restaurants, or attend an exciting local event, there's always something to do in Tangipahoa Parish. Tangipahoa Tourism is proud to support the Southeastern Channel in its mission to educate and inspire young media professionals right here in Tangipahoa Parish, the crossroads of Louisiana.
Drop, yo.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of The Big Game. I'm Myles here with Avion, Dotch, and today we're going to be looking at a preview of the Southland Conference volleyball tournament, the Pelicans' recent struggles, and taking a dive into the history of the River Bell Classic between Southeastern and the Nichols Colonels.
We'll also be looking into the high school football players in Tangipahoa area, along with Hammond's High home playoff game and the Saints' most recent wins against the Atlanta Falcons and the Cleveland Browns.
But first, we'll be looking at the Lions' most recent football game against the Northwestern State Demons, along with men's and women's basketball seasons to this point, and the Lady Lions' dominance on the volleyball court. With back-to-back conference titles under their belt, the Lady Lions had a chance to earn at least a third straight share of the Southland crown with a home matchup against the Lady Vaqueros of UTRGV in the University Center, then a match on the road against East Texas A&M in Commerce, Texas, with more on a historic opportunity for the Lady Lions. Here's Big Game reporter Kendrick Allen.
UTRGV was welcomed for the first time to the University Center, with Coach Jeremy White and his Lady Lions hungry at an opportunity to clinch a regular season title for back-to-back years.
Even though the Vaqueros won the first set, the Lady Lions would eventually bunker down on defense, leading to them winning 2 straight sets. The Lion offense would return to unstoppable form, being gracious hosts and offering up nothing but heated serves and kills, with 4 Lions alone putting up more kills on offense than their opponents would for the whole night. Now that the Lady Lions have secured a half of the title, they look towards the tournament, as they're hoping to three-peat. Not many can claim that feat, however, since it hasn't happened in the Southland since 1990. However, the Lions and their faithful are saying no to the history books, and they're saying lion up all the way till the end. For The Big Game, I'm Kendrick Allen.
Starting off the campaign with a win over William Carey, the Lions men's basketball team started a 10-game road trip that will last until December 16th. This first game of the Odyssey for the Lions ended with a loss to UAB and Mississippi State. Their most recent game against the ULM Warhawks came down to the wire off a steal from Brody Roberry and a pair of free throws. The Lions clung into a 70-67 win for Southeastern, leaving the Lions record at 2-2 so far this season.
After a resounding 79-45 win over Millsaps, the Lady Lions basketball team went on the road to face the 23rd-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers. The Lady Lions went into this big early season matchup with something to prove, and with the story is Big Game reporter Jalil Hutton.
The Southeastern Lady Lions basketball team played a very close game against the Lady Cornhuskers of Nebraska. The players who were leading the Lady Lions throughout the game were Alexius Horn with 24 points and Lexi Alexander with 14 points. The Lions were up 37-31 at the end of the first half, but that was not the end of the game. The Lady Cornhuskers were catching up with the Lions up until the third quarter to take the lead. The leading scorer for the Cornhuskers was Natalie Potts with a total of 17 points. The Lady Cornhuskers managed to keep up with Southeastern and overtake them with a score of 78-68. With the Lady Cornhuskers taking the win, they gave the Lady Lions their first loss of the season, putting them at 1-1. Reporting for the big game, I'm Jalil Hutton.
On senior days for Southeastern's football team, the Lions would take a reeling Northwestern State team who haven't won a game in over 700 days. Jules Dormain has more on a resounding victory for the Lions.
On Saturday, November 9th, the Northwestern State Demons traveled to Strawberry Stadium to try and spoil Southeastern's season. However, head coach Frank Selfo and the Lions were more than ready for this contest. Early on, the game had seemed as if it would be a close one, with both teams taking trips to the red zone early. The Lions were able to capitalize on their drive with a touchdown from Brandon Hayes. However, after a great catch from redshirt freshman Ray McNeely, a costly fumble on the goal line would be the first of many mishaps for the Demons. Southeastern would find their rhythm and score again on a receiving touchdown from senior wideout Darius Lewis. Lewis would go on to make another crucial catch. However, despite a strong drive, Northwestern State safety Jeremiah Kephard picked off Eli Sawyer on the goal line. After this hiccup, the Lions kicked it into gear for the rest of the game, executing on all three sides of the ball, getting massive punt returns and making multiple defensive stops. A Carlos Washington run would set up a touchdown for fellow teammate and running back Rodeo Graham, and the run game never turned back. After another Lewis catch, Carlos Washington makes it into the end zone for another touchdown. Southeastern would win handedly 41-0, posting their first shutout since Central Arkansas in 2019. Reporting for the big game, I'm Jules Dormain.
Well, coming up after the break, we'll take a look at Hammond High's playoff game, along with other playoff games in the Tangi area, as well as the New Orleans Saints' most recent pair of games and some controversy in the UFC. Don't go anywhere. Big Game will be right back.
I surrender.
All right, pal.
Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
What's up?
Do we have a gun?
Why do you ask that, kiddo?
Can I play with it?
No, absolutely not. It's not a toy. You know that. Anyway, I need it to protect you, your sister and Mom.
But what about the 8 kids who get shot every day by mistake?
Where'd you hear that?
Where do you keep it?
It's hidden.
I bet it's on the top shelf of the closet, under your sweatshirts. Is it loaded? Remember when I found my Christmas gift? You always told me to be curious.
No, that's not what I meant.
And when it's just me and Mom, I could use the gun to protect her.
No, Justin, I promise. I'm always here for you.
But Dad, you're not always here.
Sunshine through today with seasonal temperatures. We should reach our normal high of about 82 degrees by this afternoon. Clear skies tonight with a low of 70.
Welcome back to the big game. First, we'll look over some of the results of Tangipahoa High School football first round of the playoffs. At home, the LaRondre Wolves handled the Kenner Discovery Health Science Academy Swamp Owls 60-7. Amite hosted Sarah T. Reed and won a resounding 56-0 shutout to advance to the next round. Then, Kentwood handled St. Mary's 56-6 and Pine beating St. Helena 40-16. The best game, however, was between the Covington Lions and the Barr Buccaneers. It was a thrilling affair that resulted in Covington winning 36-29 and advanced to face Neville.
Now to get more local, the Hammond High Tornadoes hosted the Huntington Raiders in the first round matchup. For more on the game, here's Big Game reporter Brendan Smith.
Hammond High recently played their first round playoff game to Huntington High School of Shreveport, where the Tours would lose the game 34-6. However, there are still plenty of positives to look at through this negative outcome, as Hammond hosted their playoff game for the first time since 2004, and under head coach Dorset Buchholz, the Hammond High Tornadoes have seen continuing positive results since his hiring in 2020. as with a 20-26 overall record, 2 trips to the playoffs, and quality regular season wins over teams like Meet, who the Tours have beaten 3 times during Coach Dorsett's tenure, there's plenty to be excited for in the future of Hammond High football. Reporting for the big game, I'm Brendan Smith.
The New Orleans Saints recently fired head coach Dennis Allen and inserted Darren Rizzi as their interim head coach. They've played 2 home games since, against the Atlanta Falcons and the Cleveland Browns, trying to gain some momentum after a 7-game skid. To take us through the Saints' latest matchups, here's big game reporter Christian Vavasor.
Darren Rizzi era in New Orleans began in the Superdome with 2 straight wins against the Atlanta Falcons and the Cleveland Browns in back-to-back weeks. Against the Falcons, Derek Carr connected to newly signed wide receiver, former Super Bowl champion Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who had 3 receptions for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. With a stout defense and a few missed kicks by the Falcons, the Saints were able to do just enough to get the win, 20-17. Against the Cleveland Browns, the Saints went on a 21-0 run in the 4th quarter, as Taysom Hill put on a show. Despite turning the ball over twice in the first half, Taysom Hill came back stronger in the second half and lit up the Browns defense. Hill continues to make history, as according to ESPN research, he is the first player in NFL history with 3 rushing touchdowns, 50 receiving yards, and a pass completion since Ed Podolak in 1971. With that win on Sunday, Darren Rizzi becomes only the 2nd Saints head coach all time to start 2-0, with the first being Sean Payton, who brought the Saints their first Super Bowl title. In what was thought to be impossible 2 weeks ago, the Saints now have a shot at winning the NFC South. Reporting for the big game, I'm Christian Vavasor.
There's been some controversy in the UFC lately involving heavyweight fighters Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall regarding a match for the heavyweight titles. Most recently, Jon took on Stipe Miocic at UFC 309. I have more on this story.
You want to see the winner fight Tom? The winner should absolutely fight Tom.
Jon Jones, widely regarded as one of the greatest MMA fighters in history, added another accolade to his legendary career, defeating Stipe Miocic to claim the UFC Heavyweight Championship. Jones showcased his unparalleled fight IQ, dominant grappling, and striking precision in a historic victory against the most accomplished heavyweight in UFC history. This win also solidified his status as a 2-division champion, further cementing his legacy as one of the sport's most decorated athletes. However, this triumph has not come without its criticism. Following Tom Aspinall's rapid rise and dominant performance in his recent bouts, fans and analysts have been speculating Jones may be avoiding the showdown with the surging British star. The debate has reignited conversations about legacy competition and what it truly means to be the best. While Jones' victory over Miocic adds an incredible add to his resume, the lingering question remains, will he step up to the challenge of Aspinall and maybe even Alex Pereira in the future? And this was Avion Dotch reporting for the big game.
We're going to go to break for a moment, and when we get back, we'll take a dive into the history of the River Bell Classic, along with a preview of the Southland Conference volleyball tournament and the Pelicans' latest struggles. Then finally, we'll close out with some pick and roll. Don't go anywhere. Big Game will be right back.
Each year, hurricanes and major flooding threaten cities, towns, and rural homes across the Gulf states. So chances are there will be more storms and floods near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
This presentation of the big game was made possible through the kind support of Tangipahoa Parish Tourism, your guide to the crossroads of Louisiana. And North Oaks Health System, improving lives every time, every touch.
Tangipahoa Parish is home to the strawberry capital of the world and the premier destination for family fun and adventure. Whether you're looking to visit one of our historic museums, grab a bite to eat at our amazing restaurants, or attend an exciting local event, there's always something to do in Tangipahoa Parish. Tangipahoa Tourism is proud to support the Southeastern Channel in its mission to educate and inspire young media professionals right here in Tangipahoa Parish, the crossroads of Louisiana.
Drop, yo.
To close out the regular season, the Southeastern Lions traveled to Thibodaux to take on their bitter arch enemies, the Nichols Colonels, in the historic River Bell Classic matchup. For more on the rivalry between these two schools, here's Big Game reporter Lucas Hill.
Rivalry. A person or thing competing with another for the same objective or for superiority in the same field of activity. It is the perfect definition for the Southeastern Lions and the Nichols Colonels as they meet for the 35th time this week at John L. Guidry Stadium. It is a rivalry that has made legends, fantastic football, as well as controversy, all leading to the run for the famous River Bell Trophy. A rivalry that dates back to 1972. The origins of the trophy date back to the same year when the alumni of Sigma Tau Gamma decided to create a trophy that symbolized the Mississippi River that separates the two schools, the River Bell.
The trophy we did in 1972, 40 years ago, was a nice trophy, but it wasn't professionally, artistically designed. This one is. And we think it really reflects the quality of the rivalry between Nichols State and Southeastern. And when you look at the trophy, there's a lot of little nuances in it that lead you to where each of the universities are, what the symbols are, and what it means to each of them to play in the River Bell Classic.
The teams would continue to play for the trophy until 1985, when Southeastern would drop its football program. But 20 years later, the two teams returned to battle for the Bell and haven't missed a beat since then.
You always want to be playing meaningful games at the end of October and into November. And for us to sit here and be able to do that the last week of the season against your rival team, and you're playing for the championship and all the marbles, I don't think you can ask for anything better than that.
The last two meetings have seen the Lions and Colonels each take home the Bell and a Southland Conference title. Could it happen again this week? With some help for Southeastern, 3 times might be a charm. Reporting live for the Big Game, I'm Lucas Hill.
With their win against UTRGV and Eastern Texas A&M, the Lady Lions clinched their spot as the first seed in the Southland Conference volleyball tournament. The tournament will be hosted from November 22nd to the 24th, where a champion will be crowned in the University Center. The first matchup is at 10 a.m. on the 22nd between the Lady Lumberjacks of the Stephen F. Austin and the HCU Lady Huskies. This tournament looks to be an all-timer. Following the Lady Lions coming away with the title last season over Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the championship matchup will take place on Sunday, the 24th in the University Center at 3 p.m. Good luck to every team involved.
The New Orleans Pelicans started off the season hot with 2 wins, but then it seemed injuries reared their ugly head and reality has since come crashing down for the New Orleans Pelicans. I'll take you through more of this story.
The New Orleans Pelicans started the 2024-25 season winning their first 2 games after an astonishing win against the Chicago Bulls, 123-111, and a nail-biting finish against the Portland Trail Blazers, 105-103. However, the Pelicans would then go on to lose 9 of their next 10 games. Most of them have been due to these key injuries. Here's what Willie Green had to say about the situation.
We're always disappointed that it happens. When it happens to any of our players, we're disappointed for them. We know that the work that they're putting in to make themselves available to be on the floor. But at the same time, you know, we want a speedy recovery, and, you know, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for other guys to step on the floor. We're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. We had a good day today, good film session, good practice, and we keep moving forward.
Hopefully the Pelicans can get their players back to turn their season around. From the Big Game, I'm Myles Edwards.
Now let's get into pick and roll. Now, Avion, we are now approaching almost a month into the NBA season now. There's, you know, a lot of exciting things, a lot of things we didn't really expect. We didn't really expect to see the Cavs at 15-0. Orlando's playing good. But then there's some teams who we expected to be contenders to have not really exceeded expectations, especially with the moves the Bucks have made over the past couple years, getting Damian Lillard in the trade, getting Doc Rivers after firing Adrian Griffin, the Sixers getting Paul George. It's just not working out for those teams. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I feel like a lot of teams that you said, they got a underlying issue right there, and I feel like that has to do with age. A lot of those teams that you listed are like older, about 36 is their like average age. Let's get on the topic of, the Bucks. First off, I believe the acquisition of Adrian Griffin, that they had last season was actually a good coach. I believe he was a good coach, and getting rid of him for Doc Rivers, we've seen it hasn't been that good. I think they have a losing record with Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers pride himself on his defense, and they have not been one of the greatest defensive teams right now. They've looked a little lackluster, and their offense have kind of been carrying them. They put up a lot of points. You have Damian Lillard, you have Giannis. You want to see them get more reboundings, but their offensive in general has looked great. But like I said, their old team, Chris Middleton, has been through a slew of injuries after he got that one injury back in, I believe, 2021. Damian Lillard's getting up there in age. Giannis, he's getting up there in age. Brook Lopez is already up there in age. So, the youngest person that started lineup might be Bobby Portis. I really couldn't tell you. But that just shows, you get these championship teams, you put all that money into these old players. You got to hope their body stays with them. On the topic of the 76ers, we already knew the 76ers were going to be, injured. They had Tyrese Maxey, they had Joel Embiid, Paul George, all these injuries right now. We knew about Paul George and we knew about Joel Embiid back-to-backs. We knew about that. Tyrese Maxey, that's unfortunate. With that team, you just have to hope that they all be healthy enough for the postseason. But, that's crazy. It's usually, the old teams,
Yeah, and as we continue to talk about injuries in the NBA, obviously we talked about this on the show a couple times. The Pelicans have also been dealing with some injuries as well. That's kind of hurt them. And they've been hurt with injuries over the past few years. It's not just this year. You could argue, look back at the teams, you look at the injuries they've had in the playoffs, you could argue and say if they had guys like Zion on the floor, could be a very, very, different team in terms of winning and making playoff runs. So, and now here we are again with these injuries with the Pelicans. How are they going to overcome this?
Well, I feel like it's just the same song and dance with the Pelicans. Every single year for the last, I believe, 5 years, we've been talking about injuries. What if Zion was there? What if the team was fully put together? At a certain point, we have to look at the team that we have on paper right now, and there's not that many people on the team right now playing. DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy just came back, Not too many players. Zion, obviously. Everybody on that starting roster has missed some time, though, if I'm being real with you. Brandon Ingram has been the only consistent factor of that starting five. And at a certain point, you have to look at the players and you have to be like, well, if we can't get you healthy, for the past, 5 years, we gotta switch it up. We gotta change something up. You gotta cut them some slack, when it gets some slack to be cut. But at a certain point, if there's every single year you make it to the West, you get a record to get you in the 7th seed or the 8th seed, you don't get home court advantage, and you keep on losing to these first round seeded teams. It's not a good look on a coach, it's not a good look on an organization. And at a certain point, I'm not saying you blow up the team, but I'm saying you have to do a real reconstruction of the rosters and the entire thing like that. And I feel like that comes down to the coach's game plan too. Willie Green, this slew, is a little bit on him. You want to blame injuries, but it's a little bit on him. He hasn't made the necessary rotations that he needs to do. A lot of players out, so you want to, adjust for minutes, but, I feel like he has to really hone in on if he wants to really keep this job that he has, which I believe that he's doing a pretty decent job at that, great locker room presence.
Still a lot of basketball to be played in the NBA. We'll see how the season goes for all 30 NBA teams. Moving on to college football, and obviously it's a lot different than NBA because the playoffs are about to start in college football. 12-team playoff, everyone's been waiting on it. There's a lot of teams who are making pushes. There's a lot of teams who are essentially going to be locks eventually. Let's start with Oregon, the number one team in the nation. They've been the most consistent football team in the country over the past, this season. And it starts with Dan Lanning. I think it starts with Dan Lanning and the job he has done at Oregon over the course of the years he's been there. They also have a Heisman quarterback favorite in Dylan Gabriel. What are your thoughts on Oregon? Do you think they can win out and just put their name on the map as the essential best team in the country if they win the national championship?
I believe they already have put their name in the running because I feel like the wins that they've stacked up against these amazing organizations already, against Ohio State, was it Wisconsin, Michigan, all that stuff, Ohio. So, which was a nail biter. I feel like that already shows that their prowess for actual competition when it comes to the playoffs. I feel like you talk about their quarterback, he shows his edge when it's like clutch time moments. They don't let it get to him. They coast. They don't really coast throughout the game, but they don't never let the team get an advantage over them. They just really kind of have their foot on the gas most of the time the entire game. I think the last game is a little different. They had to come back from I think a deficit, but I believe the majority of the time they've been up. They've been consistent, keeping their foot on their necks, doing all this stuff.
Right, and also, like I said, it's not over. It's wide open. The championship is wide open because there are a lot of teams who are coming, and they are trying to put their name on the map as well. Teams like Colorado, a team who in the offseason, a lot of people didn't really give Deion Sanders too much faith. Especially after last season, they went 4-8. First year in the Big 12, and they have played phenomenal this year. It all starts with that defense. I feel like the Warren Sapp hire has really helped that defense excel in all three phases of the game. And then obviously you have guys like Shador and Travis who are going to ignite that offense. How dangerous do you think Colorado can be down the stretch this season?
I think very dangerous. If a team's not looking out for them on their game plan, they might go ahead and take them out. I mean, if they still think it's the same Colorado that they're going up against last year, they've wholeheartedly changed. Their offense has gotten better. Their defense has gotten better. As a team, they wholeheartedly got new acquisitions that made them just a whole entire better team. And, even when they struggle with Hunter, I mean, they had, you always have Hunter and you got Sanders. So, you always got those given. You got those big ballers. You're always going to make big-time plays. So even if they're struggling, they still have a good overall team. You talk about their defense. Their defense has been great, one of the best defenses in their conference. So, I mean, I feel like this is not the same team from last year. They're different. They're different.
It's not.
I feel like they jumped it last year, but they're here now. They're here now.
They are most certainly here. And don't forget about teams like Indiana, who's 10-0. First time in school history they've won 10 or more games. Then you have teams obviously Ohio State, Georgia, Bama, Texas. It's going to get interesting.
Oh, it really is.
I cannot wait to see how it finishes. Moving on to the NFL, the Chiefs. Finally, the Chiefs lose their first game of the season. They've been playing pretty iffy, though. They've been pretty iffy. Yeah. A lot of people seen this coming. The Chiefs have trailed in every single game this year except for one, and that was that Monday night game against New Orleans. And it finally came back to haunt them. All their dark magic and all is rigged and all that. It finally came into the end when they went into Orchard Park Sunday and lost to the Bills. Is there question marks about the Chiefs now that we've finally seen a little bit of cracks get the best of them?
Well, I think there is a little bit of chips in the armor, but I think throughout their entire season they've played not to their prowess of we know the Chiefs to be playing. They've been playing a little sloppy, letting teams build up leads, and where they have to get Patrick Mahomes having these superstar games to really bring them back. But in a turn of are the Chiefs the team to beat? I still think the Chiefs are the team to beat because we've seen Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, their entire roster. The big star player is going to make big-time moves when the big time happens. So you know what I mean? So I feel like you always got to account for that. And, they did lose pretty bad to the Bills, though. I think, that's that. And the Bills have also been looking good.
The Bills have been looking good. I believe they've won 6 in a row now. They are looking red hot. Things getting interesting down in the AFC, especially now with Pittsburgh at 8-2 as well.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on to the NFC, though. And I feel like this is a no-brainer. I really think, man, the Detroit Lions, man, they're 9-1. They've won 8 in a row. They have been by far the best team in the NFL this year. I mean, 52-6. I mean, I know it's the Jaguars, and they're 2-9. But You beat an NFL football team 52-6.
That's what I'm saying.
The week before that, your quarterback, Jared Goff, throws 5 interceptions, and you come all the way back to win that game. I think so, but I want your insight on this. Do you think the Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL, and do you think they can make a Super Bowl run this year?
I believe wholeheartedly they can make a Super Bowl run this year. We look at their team. We saw a little bit of flashes last year when they made it to the playoffs and all that stuff. We saw people weren't believing in them. They had to go ahead and run it back for them. So, you know, we see now. I think they are. Like I said, not too much. We know the Chiefs because of their past, but, you know, I got to say the Lions, that they're on the up and coming, and I think they might be the team to beat. They're definitely looking like a great team, great safety play, great quarterback play, great play from every. Like I said, we talk about the 5 interceptions, and they still win that game by how much? Like, it's
3.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Most teams would do that, and they'd be losing by 20. Like it's wild. And you know, maybe it's the conference. I don't think so. I still think they have a little bit of competition. You know, but I wholeheartedly believe that they are the team to beat.
And let's not forget, they don't have Aiden Hutchinson out there as D lineman, and their defense is still playing at a high level. I'm talking about like the Detroit Lions. I mean, you could say it's too early, but I mean, right now at this point in time, the Lions are by far the best team in the NFL, and it's going to take a lot to take that team down. But like I said, it's a lot of football left to be played. I can't wait to see how everything plays out. That'll do it for this episode of The Big Game. For more information on Lions Athletics, visit www.lionsports.net. And for more of us here at The Big Game, visit thesoutheasternchannel.com. So for Avion, Dotch, and the entire game crew, I'm Myles Edwards. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.